I mean, two things. First, of course, Putin really believes, what he's saying about trying to reinstitute greater Russia, maybe reconstitute the Soviet Union or something like that, or even the Russian Empire. He's talked about that for decades, and he clearly believes that, and that's why one reason why he's gone into Ukraine. In terms of giving him an off ramp, I think if we want to have a ceasefire and a settlement, we're going to have to give Putin something that allows him to claim some success and bring his troops home. Right now our position is basically he gives up, goes home. For Putin, that's probably the end of his regime. That's why Zelensky, I think, has offered essentially a neutral Ukraine, a Ukraine maybe that has broken its ties with NATO, but remains independent and democratic.
Do you think that he would take that?
I think that they're getting to the point where they'll take it. A week ago, 10 days ago, Putin had a conversation with French President Macron, and Macron was trying to explore something like that. Putin was adamant that he wanted military victory. That was 10 days ago. He hasn't made a whole lot of progress, and at some point, I think he will decide that that's a better deal than going for a military victory, which is increasingly remote.
Roger, what do you think about that?
In December 2014, I published in the Kiev Post an op-ed that said that recommended that a promise that Ukraine would never join NATO was worth any concession to get to get Ukraine's territorial integrity restored. That was basically a giveaway, because it means something Putin was able to use it to mobilize support in Russia, and without Ukraine being part of NATO, there are ways that the United States can obviously the United States has the right to help Ukraine without it being a member of NATO, and you could even argue that we're obligated to do so under the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, which we signed when they gave up their nuclear weapons to Russia, so that Russia could have a regional nuclear monopoly. And that was not a threatening act to Russia. It was supporting Russia, but I think about Putin, I would say, obviously nobody knows, but people who I know who know Putin, one thing I get from them is that a large part of what he tells the lies he tells his people, he may actually believe, some large subset of that, and which means that he probably didn't understand the determination of the Ukrainian people to maintain their independence. By the way, this is important about Putin. I want to say my understanding is yes, Ukraine was very divided and often east-west lines in its 2010 presidential elections and its 2005 presidential election. But by 2014 and by the 2019 presidential election, Ukraine does not look like by 2019, Ukraine does not look like such a divided country. And while I've just admitted that since the end, since 2014, I personally have said Ukraine should just never join NATO. We shouldn't even talk about it. That's but my stand. People in Ukraine have gone the opposite way. Once Russia took Crimea and started its steady attacks on the Donbass, people in Ukraine got steadily more anti-Russian, and I think the deep divisions on the Russian question in Ukraine were disappearing because of Putin's aggression in the years from 2014 to 2019, and in 2019, overwhelmingly in the National Assembly of Ukraine, almost everybody voted for a constitutional amendment that says joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Those words are in the Constitution of Ukraine. They put in the Constitution that Ukraine's government has a fundamental goal of joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and that was passed by basically everybody voted for it in the National Assembly, the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. And Putin didn't understand that, I think, and he didn't understand that he was causing it in some ways. Ukraine is a different country today than it was in 2014. It's not just the invasion that's changed it. It's the original invasion of 2014 that began a process, and Putin was causing it, and obviously didn't understand that because he discounts those things. he's not inclined to listen to the voices of people, and he's inclined, maybe he really believes what he tells his people, that his population, that protesting Ukrainians on the popular voices in Ukraine are just manipulated by the United States.